Do you have a loved one who's far from God, a loved one who's walking away from God, a loved one who's struggling, a loved one that needs to return back to God? Well, today in our daily discipleship video, we're going to talk about a power prayer for a loved one. Now, if you want access to hundreds of these teaching videos, they're available on our YouTube channel that you can subscribe to and get access to all of them. Well, what is this power prayer for a loved one that we want to talk about? What's this power prayer for a loved one that will make a difference? Well, it's found in Luke chapter 22. Now, the context is the Last Supper. Now, the disciples start arguing again about who's going to be the greatest, and Jesus singles out Peter and makes an astounding statement and actually even predicts that Peter will deny him. First of all, he says, Simon, Simon, Luke 22:31. Jesus said, Simon, Simon, indeed Satan has asked for you that he may sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith should not fail, and when you've returned to me, strengthen your brethren. Now think about it. He's always called him Peter. He gave him the nickname Peter, yet his formal name, his given name is Simon, and Jesus uses it twice. That means this is very, very significant. And then he says, indeed. Well, he doesn't always say that, but he did here, and that means pay attention. Simon, Simon, this is serious. Pay attention. And then he makes an odd statement. He says, Satan has asked for you. Well, that's both discouraging and encouraging. It's encouraging to realize that Satan has to ask permission before he can do anything against us. It's discouraging to think that Satan could actually ask to want to hurt God's people, but you know that he does. Then he says he wants to sift you like wheat. What does that mean, sift? Well, this was an agricultural culture, and they separated the wheat, the chaff from the grain by sifting it, shaking it in order to separate it. And so what he's saying is Satan has asked for you that he may shake you up and separate you from me. But Jesus makes an astounding statement, but I have prayed for you. What an encouraging thing. At the lowest, hardest, deepest times of our life, when we have the most trials, when we're the most shaken by what's happening, when we experience the greatest temptation, remember this, Jesus is praying for you. Right now, Jesus is praying for you. I find it encouraging when I don't know what to pray for my loved one who's struggling, when I feel like I've prayed everything I know to pray. Sometimes I say, I just add my prayers to whatever Jesus is praying for them right now. What did Jesus pray? He says that your faith should not fail. That's the first request of this power prayer, that their faith would not fail, that they would not go too far from God, that they would not lose at least that bit, that spark, that little flame of faith in their hearts, that your faith should not fail. You may fail, you may struggle, you may stumble. He says, but your faith, I'm praying that it doesn't fail. And then he says, and when you've returned to me, you need to return like the prodigal son needed to return to his father. You're going to need to return to me. But he says, when you have returned to me, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I encourage you to pray for your loved one with faith. Faith that it's going to happen. God, when they return, may their faith not fail, and may, when they return, may they strengthen the brethren. May their ministry be enhanced and expanded. I have 3 sons. They've all gone through seasons where they've struggled, kind of being prodigals, wandered away from God a little bit, and we prayed that they would not go too far, that God would protect them, that God would keep a hedge around them, that Satan would, his shaking would only result ultimately in enhancing their ministry. You know, sometimes when people have gone through hard things, difficult things, that just makes them more effective for God, more humble, more dependent. It makes them more empathetic and more understanding and compassionate and gracious with others. Your loved one struggling today? Luke chapter 23, verse 31 and 32. Pray along with Jesus that their faith would not fail, but when they return to Him, their ministry would be enhanced.